All right. Finally set up here for at least one kind of video-worthy game. Got the Saturday Night Gym Leader Challenge event hosted by Cardboard Warriors going on tonight. And unfortunately, our guys have hit each other in round one, Lee and Spence. Lee will be on the left-hand side of your screen. Spencer will be on the right. Spencer piloting looks like Dragobox, and I know Lee is on his fairy deck. Lee's been trying to get this fairy badge for the last couple of weeks now. I know that he's made some improvements to the deck that he's really excited about. So we were going to follow him anyway tonight, but unable to get the stream going just yet. But that's not that big of a deal. We'll get that sorted so that we can be live and rolling as early as this coming week. Alright, guys, look like they have finished setting up. And we have got ourselves a Reggie Drago start on Spence's side and a Mr. Mom for Lee. Spence going to rip that Hisuian heavy ball, reveal a Dragon that he finds there, dig that out of the prize cards. We know that this deck, this Dragobox deck that the team has patented and made kind of famous, loves to get going really quickly, loves to turbo out these extra energies, and loves to have a multitude of attackers that swing for a lot of damage, a bunch of big basics. Spence going to go for a Pokey Gear here, hoping to find a supporter off of the top 7. Looks like he does have some choices eyeing up. Checking the hand. Going to take Colress's Tenacity, an extremely strong card for this Dragobox deck, as it lets you search out that Double Dragon energy in a stadium card. There are multiple stadiums within this Dragon deck that Spence is going to want to be playing in this matchup. Silent Lab notably turns off that Mr. Mime ability so that Spence can snipe down the board from and knock Lee's bench Pokemon down. I do know that Spence had a lot of mulligans going into this, so Lee is going to have a pretty hefty hand to work with going second here to start. Alright, Spence going to put the Stormy Mountain into play and use it immediately. Search his deck for a Dragon Pokemon, a basic Dragon Pokemon. Go to the bench. Also get himself a nice little deck check going at this time. Be able to see what he's got prized. I know that Spence is a huge fan of being able to eye out his energies. So I know that's one thing that he'll get a count of while searching through the deck. You see the lightnings, we see the blues, see the fires. It may have been Double Dragon right there at the very end. Didn't quite catch it. Either way, though, now Spencer will have perfect knowledge going into his first turn with Supporter active of what he can pull out with that Colress's Tenacity. Going to go for a Reshiram. So obviously believes that he has ways to get into this Dragon Pokemon and be able to accelerate those energies into play. Be able to turbo out extra fire energies each turn with the Turbo Blaze ability. Max Elixir as well. This has been an incredibly strong first turn from the Dragobox deck. Looking for an energy, we do hit a blue. Perfect for that Dragon on the bench. So Spence definitely having a good time so far. Good go of it. Get a shuffle up off of that Max Elixir. Fire to Reggie Drago. It's perfect. We know he has the tenacity in hand for next turn. And he's going to end his turn and send it on over to Lee. Now, Lee's list is a very interesting list. It is as turbo as Fairy can be in the year 2025. He's playing a lot of unique cards that have been printed recently that have kind of improved this Fairy archetype somewhat. I know we have the Arvin engine in this deck so that we can fetch out those important tool cards. One of those tools specifically being the Technical Machine Evolution, to be able to evolve Lee's Pokemon on the first turn of the game, going second. That's a huge part of the game plan here for Lee. Playing a Nest Ball, going to make sure that he has a good idea of what he has access to. And off the Nest Ball, it looks like he is eyeing up the Mimikyu. This Mimikyu is a big problem for most attackers in the Dragon list. It has the same attack as the Psychic Mimikyu that we all know and love. The one for Filch to draw a couple of cards, but the for one fairy, one colorless energy copycat attack that will allow this Mimikyu to copy these dragon attacks, usually for less energy than are required from their side. Now, I do know that Lee is not playing any basic energies other than the fairy type energy. So there's a couple of niche situations where that could come up. He may not be able to copy the Dragon Arcana as efficiently, but definitely is going to be able to clear most of the guys with the copycat attack. Now, he also has an Arvin. Now, notably, again, Lee had a massive hand to start out the game. So off of his Arvin, that card that I mentioned, he's going to go Buddy Buddy Poppin' and a U-turn board. U-turn board allowing these Pokemon with one retreat or less to retreat for free. So that is a great card for Lee to be able to fetch out. We go Togepi and Floette and Timer Ball. Timer Ball flips at least one heads. I cannot tell with that yellow dice if Lee did flip a double heads there, but looks like at least one heads off of the Timer Ball. And we are going to go with the Flabébé off of that Timer Ball. Flabébé, when you play this Pokemon from your hand down to the bench, you may reveal a random card in your opponent's hand. They reveal that and shuffle it to their deck. This Floette with a flower picking ability. And immediately able to evolve the Floette because of the Flabébe's ability. Flabébé has the evolutionary advantage. If you go second, you can evolve it during your first turn of the game. So he is going to make use of that ability immediately. Oh, and he hits the tenacity. What a massive hit there. Is that definitely just part of Spence's plans going into next turn, so that it will be shuffled back away into the deck, and Spence will have to find a different solution going into this turn. Tower Ball paying off huge for Lee there. All right. Zoom Spence out just a little bit here. Try to get his full perspective just a touch better. Yeah. There we go. That's a little better. All right. So Spence hits the Stormy Mountains. Search out that Drampa that I did make mention of just a few minutes ago with its Dragon Arcana attack. It's a little bit tougher of an attack to be copied by Mimikyu. So we'll see what else he has in store for this play. All right, and we are going Professor's Letter. Search out 2 basic energies from the deck. We're going to go with 1 fire. Just the 1 fire. So it looks like we're trying to keep the hand thin. We really want to use the Regidrago, see an extra card this turn or 2 potentially. Fire to that Drudigan. Dragon Sword for 1. Quick Ball away basic fighting energy. And this is going to allow Spencer to get that Tatsugiri. I really like this. We know that Spence's hand is pretty dead at the moment based on what Lee had knocked out of it and the low hand size already. So dealing with what's coming down the pot, definitely going to need to get the Tatsugiri so that we can establish the ability to fetch out the supporters with the Attract Customers ability. Guzma. To bring up the Mimikyu and swing into for 40 damage with Revenge. And turn over to Lee now. Perfect. Now we got the camera where we want it. Finally perfectly set in. We are new to this, so you guys are going to have to bear with us for the time being. So Lee hits a level ball. Level ball will fetch out a Whimsicott. And then a Razu to be able to search out 3 evolution Pokemon. I know that we as a team are very high on this card, a Razu, in our water lists, our psychic lists, and Lee is choosing to include it in this fairy list as well, as just a very strong card to be able to fetch out those important evolution Pokemon on the turn where you need them. So Lee's going to pull off a little combo here where he's going to evolve all these Pokemon up. We're going to get Togetic and Florges into play. Alright, and pass the turn over to Spence. Florges, an awesome Pokemon that allows the attacks to cost 1 fairy energy less for all of Lee's fairy Pokemon. Spence going to hit the Stormy Mountains, get out his Raging Bolt. And at the very least, Spence can start getting in the paint this turn with the Revenge attack, being able to take a prize from, at the very least, this Mimikyu. Alright. Spence does draw a Tag Call. Tag Call fetches out Guzma and Hala. Guzma and Hala is being played. Yeah, and this is definitely going to be painful. Spence going to eye up that Lost City to send this Mimikyu to the Lost Zone. As we mentioned earlier in the game, is very efficient attacker into this matchup. So Trainer's Mail hits Tag Call. Tag Call hits Guzma and Hala. It's just shuffling up the deck, though. I don't know if... Yeah, Spence doesn't have enough cards to play the Guzma and Hala, I don't think. So he just has to Revenge. Take a knockout on this Mimikyu. Spence goes down to 5 prize cards, sends it over to Lee, who plays Rescue Stretcher to immediately get that Mimikyu back out into play. Parallel City to bump the Stormy Mountains. Spence has to make a decision. Get rid of some Pokemon. He's going to opt to get rid of the Bolt and the Drampa, his backup attackers at the moment. about backed us too far off the table there, chat. On this side. No big deal. Quick fix there. Like it never even happened. All right. So now, over to Lee. Rescue stretchers out to Mimikyu. Parallel City. And Gladian. Looking at these prize cards. Lee. He's prized. A couple of important assets there. Suing Heavy Ball. Suing Heavy Ball is going to get the Tapu Fini out of the prize cards. This Tapu Fini has the Wonder Shine attack for 2 fairy, 1 colorless, 100 damage, and the opponent's Pokemon is confused. We get the evolution here into the Togekiss with Serene Grace. We're going to search or see the top 8. Can attach any fairy energy that we see there. We hit a couple. We go 1 to the Mimikyu. Debating it here. Alright, and we're going to go both onto the Xerneas. So Xerneas is loaded and ready to attack this turn. Xerneas, one of the best basic attackers that Fairy has access to. It's Brighthorn's attack. It does do 130 damage. And the caveat is that this Pokemon cannot use Brighthorns during your next turn. Obviously, with the switching outs and whatnot, you can get around that. But as it stands, Lee will be sitting with this Brighthorn's attack. And with that, Lee takes his first prize card. We go down to 5 apiece. Spence promotes the Reshiram, draws for turn. Ooh, nice top deck. Air Balloon onto the Reshiram. Debating it. Alright. He is going to leave it there. Guzmahala, going to get rid of the Rescue Stretcher and another card there. Didn't quite catch that one. But he is now going to search his deck for that Double Dragon energy. And then we're going to get a Stadium and a Tool card here. You would, assume kind of what I was thinking, something to kind of boost this HP. Because you know that you're going in with a Drago here. Got a 0 card hand, so you're going to be able to fill your hand to 4 by attaching the Double Dragon, attaching the Cape. And then the Stadium, we either have the option for Silent Lab or Lost City here. I don't know if you grab the Lost City and put it into play and just start Lost Zoning these attackers. I don't know if that's, the line we go down. It looks like that is what Spence is deciding to do. And I don't hate it at all. I think that it's definitely a valid play. You want to try to run Lee out of attackers as best as you can. Alright, and we're going to get a retreat into that Drago with the Cape on. We can make Hoff's board a little bit bigger as well so we can see, give the chat all these pretty fairy Pokemon. Alright, Spence does opt to put the Lost City into play. Also going to Lost Vacuum away the U-turn board. We are going to get that Giant Fangs for knockout on the Xerneas. Xerneas going to the Lost Zone. Now he can just respond with one energy here from a Mr. Mime attack. He did push the Whimsicott. Whimsicott does have free retreat, so that's why you see that promotion from Lee's side of the board. Ordinary Rod, going to put back a couple of energy and some other key cards. Pokemon for Lee. Devolution Spray to devolve the Togekiss so that he can hit the Serene Grace again. And because of the Togetix's ability, it can evolve the turn that it is put into play, even through a Devolution Spray. So we're going to see that Serene Grace immediately. Ooh, and we hit a lot here. We hit plenty. Alright, 1 to the Mimikyu, 2 to the Tapu, and 1 to the Florges. So that is 4 energy hit off of that Serene Grace. That is quite good. Lee is probably very excited with that play and how that turned out. The devolution into a huge amount of energies, even though he lost his Xerneas to the Lost Zone. He's going to be able to take this KO. And Spence's board state is not as developed as Lee's at this point. Tate and Liza, we're going to get a shuffle draw of 5. We're going to get an attach from hand for turn to that Florges. Florges is another one of those Pokemon that has a confusion style attack, so it can get very annoying for the opponent's Pokemon to deal with. Its Wonder Shine does 70 and Confuse. And I have overlooked the Cape, so no way to get past the Cape. So this turn, Lee's going to elect to hit with the Finny, and the Finny's going to do 100 damage and confuse the Drago. So make it to where Lee at least has to flip a coin, or Spence at least has to flip a coin to see if he can hit through this confusion. And Spence sitting on a Peony, so that's super high value here. It's going to allow Spence to search out like a switch cart and maybe even energy retrieval here. I don't hate that. Switch card energy retrieval to be able to pivot, heal some of the damage off, keep swinging, and charge that. Yep, and there it is. Switch card energy retrieval. Perfect. Read my mind. All right, and here comes the play. Switch Cart's going to heal 30 damage off of that Drago. Turbo Blaze and attach. fresh Dragon Sword for 3. So, notably... Oh, he'd already attached the Lightning for turn to the Drampa. That's right, that's right. So we got the extra attachment with the Turbo Blaze. Drampa got 2 on it. And now that Finny also is gone to the Lost Zone. Spence down to 3, putting Lee at 5. And now the tables have completely turned on this. 70 damage on the Drago. So 160. 230. It's just enough to take it out for 2 prizes. But then your Mimikyu's getting lost zone, it feels like. That's not a great place you want to be. Alright, he's going to play Super Rod, and he looks like he elects to put back 1 Fairy Energy into the deck. And only the Fairy Energy, and that's it. Interesting. Alright. Research does find the Field Blower to be able to blow away that Lost City. So now his Mimikyu can attack freely and then be able to come back later in the game for a lead to potentially pull out that way multiple attackers. Though the next attacker lineup for Spencer is not the best one for Lee to have to deal with, because the Mimikyu is not going to be able to easily copycat that attack. But we do get the Mimikyu attack here that takes 2 prizes for Lee, tying this up at 3 apiece. And again, board state-wise, we're kind of where we were, even last turn. Lee's board looks great. Spence's board, we've got a Drampa and a Dream, but that's where we want to be, really. So now Spence is going to toss some cards. We're going to attach return. We're going to throw down the Turbo Energize on the Tatsugiri to be able to just not see that card going forward. And a Mela. Mela attached to Reshiram. We do get the Drampa powered up. And the knockout taken on the Mimikyu. No cards played down after the Mela, though. Spence hopefully drew into some recovery. Uh-oh. And we're back. No biggie at all there. Alright, so Lee through the discard pile. Plays Diantha. Now, Diantha notably is one of those fairy specific cards that is extremely good. So Diantha reads, if you can only play this if one of your fairy Pokemon were knocked out during your last turn, your opponent's last turn. Put 2 cards from your discard pile into your hand. So one of those cards Lee elects to put back is the Rescue Stretcher. And the other one looks like may have just been the Mimikyu. I may have missed the Rescue Stretcher play. I had to look Diantha up. But again, like I said, Lee can't just hit this Drampa with the Mimikyu. So goes for the Florges 70 and Confusion. Spence follow-up to this is Volkner. Volkner's going to get that escape rope to be able to continue putting the pressure on. Spence pushing us closer and closer to game point here. All right. Lee promotes the Mr. Mime at this point. No reason to keep the bench barrier around. Notably, Spence does have to find another kind of pivot here, be it an energy or the float stone. So he goes up into the Geary and attracts customers to find a Marnie. Marnie's good to continue to let Spence recycle its C cards. And Spence moves back up into his Drampa and takes knockout on the Mime. I said pushing Spence to that final prize card. Lee will have the return this time with the Florges. Quick turn there. Looks like we're probably getting closer to time. So Lee gets through with the Florges, and now Spence just has to find one more knockout to close this game out. But does he have it? We burned a lot of resources at this point to get to where we are. All right, draw for turn. Floatstone on the Geary. Attract customers. There's an Arvin play. Arvin doesn't get us much. It does get us one recovery, but gotta imagine that maybe we're looking for a Clara there. Energy retrieval's burned at this point. All right, blue to the Reshiram and a Marnie. Lee on 4, Spence to 5, and both these players have picked up the pace quite a bit. Looks like time definitely is of the essence. We can check that. Yeah, definitely at the end of the round. Lee's going to scoop up at that Togekiss, bench down the Togepi. And take a knockout with the Florges. And we're down to 1 apiece. Clara. Turbo Blaze attach. And there it is. The Reshiram Paying dividends for Dragobox. Awesome game there from the guys. Lee so close to pulling that one out and continuing on this fairy run, but even still, an awesome display from our TBS teammates here in round 1. So, great job, guys, and good luck with the rest of your rounds tonight.